Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Am Christina DiArcangelo. And today with me, I have a guest, and we are going to talk about women empowerment, which is really, hey, it sits in my sweet spot. But I'm really happy to speak about it today with Jacoby. Did I say your name correctly?
It's Jacoby, but I'm not.
Jacoby, I apologize. Jacoby, I should have asked you before. Usually I do that, but today I was a little cocky.
You're fine. You're fine.
So welcome. Welcome
Thank
so much. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
I really, I can still remember we talked about it a little bit this morning when we came on. Our first discussion, we were talking about a clinical research study, and then we just kind of started to conversate about life in general and things. And I remember talking to you about women empowerment and where you sat with it. And I was just so excited, to actually meet someone of your status and where you've been and where you're going in your lifetime, and to just wow, I couldn't believe that you were so behind it. It's not every day I meet someone who just says it to me out of the blue without me trying to pull it out of them.
Well, like I said, the initial conversation that we had, it started out. It was I thought that you were I thought it was an automated system. I didn't think you were real, and I was doing a couple of tests, right, to see, okay, well, how will the automation respond? I mean, wait a minute, this is a person. Right. And then it led into a much deeper conversation. And you told me a little bit of your background. I explained to you mine. And I think the whole empowerment thing blossomed because I told you how impressed and I work with a large group of women in my field. And I'm always trying to encourage them to keep going, right? Keep moving, right? Even when they're discouraged or they don't think that they're progressing, keep going, right? Your breakthrough is right around the corner, right? And I think it's really important for women to feel empowered. Not that men have to give them power. You have it, right? You just have to express it. I have a wife and daughter, and they are phenomenal. And each and every day, I have to tell them how phenomenal they are, because I don't even think they understand the depths of their abilities to do so much, So that's kind of how how we led into that. But it's personal to me, because I have a wife, I have a daughter.
Yeah. I remembered you saying that, and you talked about your mom and you have a sister. And so I have a good memory. And yeah. It made me think to my father, my father, and the whole reason why I have my nonprofit is because of him and him going through the challenges of being diagnosed with all these different types of cancer and then dying. And just being with him at the latter parts of his life, it was a short period there. It was from diagnosis to death, less than 2 months. And I've been talking about it a lot more lately because we're coming up on his death anniversary. And so, which is in October. And my dad was a big proponent of women empowerment, huge, ever since I was young, which is odd, right? Because think about that genre. My dad was 62 when he died in 2015, right? So that's he'd be 69, going on 70. And so that's pretty big for someone from that genre to get behind women like he did. And so when I talked to you, and we didn't even have a face-to-face like we are having today. This is the first time we saw each other, except for on LinkedIn, right? Our profile pics. But it just resonated with me so much. It made me think about my father, and and I love when I meet people that remind me of him, because I obviously will always hold him, to the highest extent possible, because he was my dad, and out of both my parents, I was most like him. So I just love that.
Well, I talk often with, I have two college age children. My son being 24, my daughter 20, and I have a younger son. He's 16, and we talk often, if not daily, every 2 or 3 days. But we have group discussions, and I tell them all the time that, specifically to my daughter, I don't want to give you anything, right? I want to get out of your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that philosophy holds water to me, because I don't think that women in particular should be given anything. Right? I
No.
don't think that women have to be given anything. I think just get out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's it. Get out of the way. People aren't looking for handouts
No.
or a crutch, or hold me up, or give me this because I'm a woman, or or be nice. It's like, no. Just get out of my way.
Yep.
And let me see what can I really do. Right.
And maybe we could minus some of the stigma, right? And comments that are made at times when we're trying to do our jobs, right? So I started off, as you know, very early in my lifetime doing biotech work, biotech and pharmaceuticals. I started negotiating big contracts with pharmaceutical companies on behalf of the clinical trial sites and all these different things. And that's how I first started to learn about the biotech industry, because I was 21 years old. What did I know at 21, And one of the challenges I had, I don't have it so much anymore because I've learned how to deal with it. But when I would present something and I'd say, this is, and it was very factually firm, this is what's going on, this is what I think we should do, but here's the pros and cons to each situation. It's up to you to decide how you shall proceed. Because remember, I was at the bottom of the barrel. So I had people I had to report to. I had a controller and I had the CFO. That's who I sat with. And then the CEO obviously was across with this, so it was a dotted line back and forth over there. So I sometimes would be perceived as being aggressive and sensitive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am not aggressive. I know I'm firm. I'm firm in what I stand for, and I've been like this my whole life, ever since I was a kid. I'm one of the most helpful, kind-hearted people you'll meet, so I don't know why you're saying I'm aggressive. I'm just trying to tell you that these are the facts, and it's when you're talking about legal matters or clinical research or patient safety, it's black or white. There is no gray. So why are you getting upset when I'm telling you this?
I have to say, I made that mistake. I would say probably 6 to 9 months ago. I had a coworker. She was a lady, and I on a couple of calls. I'm very straightforward with everyone, men or women, and I use the same tone, the same language, and the same comment that I made to her was that I've made to men as well. I said that, why are you being so aggressive?
Mm-hmm.
And I did it twice. And after a second call, it was months later, after a second call, she expressed some concern, right, over using the term aggressive, right? And I gave her a call after hours. I said, you know what? It was later. I said, okay, let me, let she and I just talk. Let me listen to her side. Let me understand. And it did not occur to me that while I thought I was being fair, because I speak to everyone like that, I did not consider how it could be perceived as something different, because she did not, or may not understood that I talk to everyone like this,
right?
But I didn't consider how it would be perceived when I made that statement to her. So I apologized and explained that it was never my intent. But in that moment, I had to accept that when you hurt someone or you make someone feel uncomfortable, your intent really doesn't matter, right? It still results in someone's pain or discomfort, right? And I had to take that. I had to take that moment, and I was truly apologetic. And she and I started to work, have a better working relationship. But I had to take that into other conversations, settings, discussions, and consider my audience, right? I say this, but just because this is who I am and this is how I talk doesn't make it acceptable. But that was a moment for me where truly did not want to offend, harm, or make her uncomfortable, but I did. I did. And for that I was truly apologetic, because it was never my intent. But your intent oftentimes doesn't matter, right? So
yeah, that was huge, though, that you took the time, that you acknowledged how she felt is really important, and that's just people in general. When you have a disagreement with someone, if you're able to meet them where they are and acknowledge that they're upset, and then take the time to listen, 9 times out of 10, you can resolve whatever issue is happening at the moment. And then the fact that you went another level and said, listen, I'm sorry I made you feel this way. This is something I always say. You've not seen me say this to others, so I can understand why you would think that I was just saying it to you, because that's what generally is said to you as a woman.
Yeah, and I didn't, and I did not consider that term can be oppressive, right? It could, I didn't consider that, but I will say that there was some frustration on my part when I made those, because I could have been more professional about it, but because this was someone that she is so good. So good at what she did. I really, really, really wanted to work with her, because I told her, I think we can solve some issues, right? Working together. And she told me, she said, you know what, Jacoby, I've always wanted to work with you too, right? And I'm like, and we're having this moment where we're trying to break through. I'm trying to communicate to you, she's trying to communicate to me, but we're using the wrong language, and it's preventing from, getting things done. And after we had that conversation, we really started to work really well together, and we saw a lot of progress being made. And I just have to take that moment and apply it to different areas in my life. I have to consider others before I make statements or make my comments, or I have to consider others, and I haven't always done that.
Yeah, we have a lot of, I say we as humans, we interact with people in a lot of different settings and a lot of different manners. And, I'm the CEO of multiple companies, so I constantly switch my hat to, okay, are we talking about patient advocacy? Are we talking about research? Are we talking about tech? Are we talking about AI? That's different than regular old tech,
Right.
So I'm constantly switching my head. And we had a situation recently with the nonprofit, and I sat back and I observed a couple of things. It was someone who wanted our attention, which, you could imagine a lot of people want our attention, right? Because we've been doing a lot, and we, what we say we do, right? We represent patients at no cost. We help people feel better when they're at their lowest, to the best of our capabilities, right? We're an advocate through and through. And so sometimes people don't truly understand our position, and then they try to tie us to political things. We can't be political, not as a patient advocate, because we interface with a lot of political affiliations, say healthcare, right? As much as we don't want to say that it's political, it is, insurance companies, it's political. What's the contract say? Whoever negotiated the contract terms for those groups of people, my dad used to do that as a Teamster for the Pennsylvania Turnpike workers. So I understand all this stuff. So in this instance, we had someone come to us and they tagged us on stuff. They tagged me personally, and I can't get involved in this stuff, and you have to ask for permission. So my COO is a woman. She's an African-American woman. And then my chief of communications is a male. He's Caucasian. So they met with this young lady, because I asked them to take the meeting, because I can't be involved in every meeting anymore. I can't. And there's things they can do, and I have to empower my people. That's what makes a good leader, right? I'm a servient leader. I serve them, right? And so sometimes it's by teaching lessons. So in this instance, the young lady didn't like the fact that my team showed up and said, you guys, you want us to help you, but there's things that need to be fixed in order for us to be able to put our rubber stamp, if you will, on this and be able to get behind it. Right now, we can't. And so evidently this young lady got very upset about it, felt antagonized, and attacked the only woman on the call, not the male, which is very odd, right? She didn't write it where it was both parties that she was upset with. even though both parties told her the same thing, they're like the Doublemint twins when they show up. You know what I'm saying? Like they talk differently, but they all have the same mindset on how we do things, head and heart. That's how we work. Yeah. And so it was so interesting to me to see this, right? So this just happened. So then I get an email. It gets escalated directly to me with this discomfort. And okay, so I'm like, what's going on? This is not what I understood to have happened. So I get on the phone with my COO on a Saturday. We talk about it. Then I'm like, okay, well, let's have a meeting with the chief communication officer, meet you. Let's just talk this through. How do we want to proceed? Because I owe her a response. So we respond back basically saying that we met as we're the executive board. We met. We talked about what she needed. It didn't look like it was something we could work on at this moment in time. There's certain things we couldn't get behind. So we wrote an email and we all crafted it together. Remember, my chief communication officer is on there to make sure that nothing can be misconstrued. So I send the email out yesterday afternoon. It was a rough day yesterday. Get this email back from her, and it was erratic and it was very mean. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute here. We just said we're not going to work with you at this time, but if we come into across any people that you might be able to work with, we're happy to make an introduction. It's not like we said we didn't ever want to talk to her again or we put her down. I didn't even address her all that rudeness down below that she wrote about my people. I let it go. And I just said, listen, we just can't work together. And she attacked me. And she attacked me hard and told me that I needed to remember to be pure and graceful as I perceive to be out in public through my brand. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm not Princess Diana. You know, I know my place. So it happened to me too. And I got to tell you, it hurt me a little bit because I was like, what? But you talking about this today with me about your colleague and how, she was feeling and how you were feeling and how things got misunderstood. I thought about this because I thought, I know how I felt. I was attacked. I was. And I don't sugarcoat things. I tell it like it is. But I have to remember where she is right now in her life and in her moment. And it's different than my moment in life, right? Different. We're not even on the same bridge, I don't think, right now. And so I will take a step back. I will not respond. I'm not going to, continue to fuel this. At one point, later on down the road, if I see that she seems to be doing a little bit better, I'll reach in and say, hey, good to see you today, or something like that. But that's it. I can't take it personally because she's just hurt.
Right. I share this analogy with my younger brother and my children, and they love this the backpack. Right. We all walk through life with a backpack, and we have all the things that we need. Right. But then along the way, we pick up all of the things that we want. Right. And the backpack just gets heavier and heavier and heavier, right? But we're still trying to go up. We're trying to excel, right? Get to the top. And I acknowledge that when my team, when they come into work, their backpack is not just loaded with things that I have to give them. It's loaded with things that they brought from home, from their personal finances, their marriage, their children, their own welfare, right? They have all these things. So as a leader, the one thing that I can do is I can take away those work challenges. I can't take away that you bring with you, right? All those things in your backpack, you have to fit, you have to manage that, right? Sometimes you're not carrying it right. You got too much weight and it's shifted, and maybe it needs to be centered, right? I can't deal with that personal stuff, but what I can do is I can say, hey, what are you dealing with at work that I can take away from you so you can do your job? Right, so that you can focus on what you need to do, and I would tell you, I get absolutely positive reviews from my reports because they know that I am a servant leader. I mean, I care about their welfare, right?
Yeah,
I want them to be able to come to work, do their job comfortably, in a safe environment, no duress, and just get it done. fire off on all cylinders, right? But sometimes, I acknowledge that sometimes there's only so much that I can do, right?
Yep.
Because I have my own things to deal with,
Yep.
right? But so in that instance, I mean, you do what you can, and I mean,
right.
and there's the limits,
right, right. And I, because I care so much about people, I really, really do. I mean, like, to a fault sometimes, like
from our first conversation.
Thank you for saying that. So I sometimes take things personally because I'm like, whoa, what was that? And I've had to learn over the years not to take things personally, like as I continue to do what I do, I'm not always going to make everybody happy. And I mean, when I got into cannabis 6 years ago, research wise, do you think people were happy on the traditional side? My colleagues? No, they thought something was wrong with me, like that I lost it. Like I'm out smoking in a bush somewhere, a bong or something. I don't do that. So, so I'm used to I'm used to that kind of thing. But it was just a reminder for me that I need to remember where people are, and I can't take stuff personally. I've just got to let it be, and just wish them well. And that's it. Cause that's what I want. I want them to get better. Like I can't fix things sometimes, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. I can't do any of those. I'm not qualified.
I'll say this, and I hope that and in no way do I mean to offend women by this statement. But it is my belief, it is my opinion that women have this inherent sense of nurturing and care, okay, for others. But sometimes the ability to care for yourself is
lacking.
If you lack, and sometimes you got to say, you know what? In order for me to take care of you, I got to take care of me. I impress this upon my wife and my daughter, right? I'll be okay. We'll be okay. What do you want to do, right? What will make you feel better, right? What are your goals? What do you want to achieve, right? It's not about me, right? I can work on this, but I told my wife, I'll tell you, I served in the military for 20 years, and my wife, we agreed. Once we were done with service, I said, wherever you want to go, I'll follow you. Not I will go. No, not I'll go wherever you want to go. Wherever you want to go, I'll follow you. And I hold to that, because we went on a journey together, but she followed me. Now it's my time to follow her, right? She has dreams, she has goals, right? Right now, I'll tell you, my wife is she's working as a travel nurse, right? That's something that she's always considered doing throughout our marriage. And I said, hey, do it, and she's enjoying the experience. I miss her, I see her from time to time, right? Not forever, that she'll be gone, but I gotta let her experience this, right? I can't say, well, I want you here, so I don't want you to go. No, she's got to experience that, right? That's right. And I think that's just what drives me, seeing my wife, my mother, honestly, seeing people happy, but more important, because you guys do so much to support us, because that's what society says you should do, right? But I think society's been silent in that. No, we can cheer, right? We can cheer for you guys, right? And that's really important to me, and my wife and daughter, and everyone that knows me. That, listen, I have women colleagues who will probably see this and say, "Yep, that's who he is." Right?
That is awesome. Well, I
need cheerleaders.
I really, really appreciate you being vulnerable and talking to me about these things and sharing some of the lessons that you've learned. I love that, because, in every podcast, we try to give something back to our listeners and our viewers, in every single podcast, all the different guests I have on. This podcast in particular, I think there's been a lot of lessons for them to learn. And so I sincerely appreciate you joining me today and talking to me so openly about this very important topic.
Oh, thank you. So.
Thank you so much. And so, as we always say, remember, we are the same. I am Christina DiArcangelo. Thank you for joining us today.